Example, we're going to work with storyboarding today. This is one I think a lot of people wanted to know how to work with, and we're working in Xcode 5, which is now you have to have mountain lion, boy, to run that one. So you can't run the newest version of Xcode with iOS 7 if you don't have mountain lion, but if you have previous versions, you can do the same thing. These may be different here. The single view application gives us that storyboard here. I'm going to create that. We're going to call this new, storyboard. Boy, example. Okay. And we're going to say, okay, create it. Yeah. And, okay. So apparently it exists, or I'm going to write over what was there anyway. It doesn't matter at this point. And as you see here, we have our app delegates, our main storyboard here. It's beginning to process and index everything up here as we watch it. A view controller for the main view we see in Storyboard, and of course some supporting files are over here as well. We go to the main storyboard here. That's what we see. We're going to go over to our toolbox here and grab a button. And drag it, set the button. Doesn't matter over here. Okay. We're going to then come over here to the third one here, which will give us the properties of the button. Hang on a second. There it is, I'm sorry, the fourth one. Right here. And we're going to call this view 1, or no, let's call this view A. And we're going to leave that. We can change the font if we want to here. If we do a custom on this, we can then go to bold or bold italic. It doesn't matter. I will just do bold. And we can bring this up in font size and say it's done, and just extend this a little bit, whatever size we want. Okay. We could throw in there if we wanted, I don't know, a background if we wanted to. We'd have to just drag the image in here and put the image in the background here. So we would add it. We're not going to do that right now, just to give you an idea of this. And there's other things here that we can make this this button. We can do all kinds of things, but right now we're not concerned with that. So there's view A. Now, for our button for view A, we're going to then take another view controller and we're going to place that right in here as well. Drag it over a little bit. Actually, we'll just shrink this down a little bit. There we go. And drag our view over a little bit, and we'll increase the size of it. Real estate is sort of pricey here in that, there we go. We can blow it up and move it across here. Okay, so we want to be able to take this button and open up the new view. Now, as you know, this view controller here, see where it is. I'm sorry. You know that they're both named view controller screen, right? They both have the same name. Here it is. The class here is called view controller. It's this file, this class of these two files here. Or I should say it's actually going to take the it takes information from these classes. So what we have to do is we have to add classes here for this view controller. We're going to go File, New, File. All right? And we're going to add an Objective-C class. Right? We're going to call this one a Web View Controller. Okay? We don't need an XIB interface or a nib. We already have the nib. So when we're storyboarding, we don't have to have a separate nib. If you had the typical application where you load each navigational controller, you need a nib. All right. So we run those in there, we create them, right? And we finish. Okay. And there they are, right? All right, we have both of them there. Okay, go back to the storyboard. So now, and we don't have to really even highlight these here, we can just do it from here. You see these little hierarchy here? This is our view controller, our main one, and this is the new view controller. What will happen is, we're going to drop this down, and we're going to type in web. If we don't see it, you can type it in, web view controller. And that's our custom class. We're going to save that. Okay. Let's see if it links it with it. It should. We're going to come back to the web view controller here. Just take a quick look at it. It is a UIV controller, just like we have here. Everything is the same. It's a web controller, a view controller, I should say. And now, when we come back into here, sometimes it takes time to refresh. Now look what happened. You see here, we went from the view controller scene to now a web view controller. It's given it a definite name because it's now linked it to its class, which is important. It's very simple to do. Alright, so now how do I generate that web view controller, if you will, that scene? First thing I want to do is I want to put, let's say, a web view into here and drag it in. Here we go. And drag it in. There we go. Let's see if I can come on, change the size of it. You can do it here by changing the size of this 20 by, I don't know, let's go 400. I can resize it if I have to. Alright, so we can get it, drag it and drop it. Okay. And, you know, alright, there we go. We should probably bring it down a little bit. In X, what I find in iOS 7, it's tricky because what it does is this area up here is a different, iOS 7 is a different animal. That's all I can tell you. You probably know this by now. Okay, so now how do I get the segue to open up from this button to view the new view? I double click on my keypad, which is one way to do it. Or what I can do is I can come here at the end here, and I have an action here. I can do it from here. So I have options to do that. And I do is I drag or control drag, and it's going to give me an options here of push modal or custom. You cannot push another scene unless you have a navigational controller. It will error out. We're going to place modal in there, and you now see the connection from one to the other. Okay, the other part of this now is I want to see a web view when I open this up immediately, right? Okay, and so what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to, for the moment, just take that out of there. And whoops, I double clicked it. Go away. There it goes. I'm going to change the configuration up here to show me. There we go. Now I'm going to click on my view controller here. Actually, I'm sorry, here. And now you see when I select that, I get this web controller M file, right? It's really, really neat stuff. Here's the trick. You don't have to write any code. control, click, and drag, and you're going to insert into there, and it's going to bring up this little screen here. You want it to be a storage type of strong. The type is a web view because it is a web view. It's linking the web view to here. It's an outlet, and we're going to type in my new W view. Okay, my new web view. We're going to connect that. All right. It writes the code for you. We're going to do the same thing again to connect it. Make the connection. Now if we double click on that, you'll see you now have the connection made. Alright, so then the question now becomes, how do I load the web page in? Right? On the view did load here, where it is, that's what you want. I'm just going to go to quickly to another app I have open right now. I want to load in, take some code from there. I don't have it off the top of my head. Sometimes I don't remember all this code. It's one of those things that I'll go through it with you, but and of course it will error out because it's going to use code from a different location. And in the view did load, obviously this is going to be the error. I'll explain that in a minute. We're going to place this in here as www.google, right? .com, right? Okay. And now here, we're going to, I'm just going to double click here for a second to get the right, my new view is the outlet. So if we go underscore M, my new view, there it is, see? We're good to go. So we should be able to save this, and we should be able to run it if we're good, and this should work. We should be able to click on button A, it'll load up the second pane of the storyboard and give us a web view, and we should see Google in our web view. Here's our simulator. Give it a chance. Come on, come on, come on. We're waiting. Sometimes these things are slow. I don't even understand why. Come on. Alright, here we go. Don't know why it took so long. Oh, it always does this. For some reason, when it creates new programs now in Xcode, it asks me for a password and to allow me to write it. Okay, there we are. There's view A. We click on to view A, and we should load up Google, and there you have it. I know this was a little slow when it did it, but when we come back, I'm going to show you how to put on this example a button, and again to run back. Well, I can actually do it now. Why don't we just even do it now? We're going to just add a button to it and segue back. So we'll do that here. Oops, sorry. Let me get this out of this mode for a second. Alright, and we're going to add our button. And the reason why I think it's easier to add a button is for this very reason, because it lends itself right here. I think what I'll do is decrease the size of my web view and bring my button down a little bit. Okay, and we'll name this back. Okay, And just to finish off this session of this, and then what we'll do here is, as we did with the other one, we'll run a control here and we'll go modal again and have our segue back. Now I'm just going to bring this down here to show you. I'm going to make this smaller just to show you that you have one coming this way and one coming back. We're going to run this just to show you that it does in fact work. Now you can customize these buttons any way you want. You can make them fancy however you want. I find that tab bar and so on, I haven't tried doing this with the tab bar and the navigation, but now if we go back, we will come back and push it back to our original view. Right now that's where we're going to stop, but I don't know what it is with iOS 7. Let me just show you, for example, what I'm talking about with iOS 7. I find that the top area here, it's changed. It's changed drastically. Yeah, you see here, I mean, you can scroll up and down. I could probably, bring this up a little bit higher, but real estate's a little bit different in iOS 7. In any event, we're going to do some more work with this app. But this is to show you the things we learned here right today were how to go to the storyboard to create these buttons and the segues. You see the segues here, right? Here's a segue. You could identify it if you want, and what you can do is you can write code to actually run that segue. I can show you that at some other point in time. And then the other thing, of course, was how to actually, without writing code, create this outlet, which we did, which we find, hang on, right here. We created this whole outlet, right, without having to write it. We linked to it, and then of course here's our code here. We created a string called full URL. Here's our string, which is our web page. We created a URL, and we said the URL is the URL with the string name here. So we're saying that's our new URL, and we're going to request that, a new URL object, and we're going to request it with this URL, and then we're going to add that request to the view. And so when we get back, we're going to work more on this, but I think you'll see the things we did here to be very useful. Take care. Bye.